Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa TV, broadcasting from the Political Command Center in Africa. Thank you very much. I'm Dr. David Matanga, and across in the studios in London is none other than Miriam Okutu. Good morning, Miriam.
Very good morning to you and good morning to our viewers.
Thank you very much. And in Meru, we still have our man, the destroyer, Douglas Kirimi. Good morning.
Very good morning to you, Dr. David, and also to Miriam Ogutu, Brenda, and also to our friends across the world. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're watching us from. And thank you for having me on the show, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Douglas and Miriam. Across in Mombasa, we shall have Brenda. She's listening and knowing how we do our work. Good morning, Brenda. Okay, if you are just listening, that is okay. But good morning to you in absentia. Thank you very much, Miriam. This show now is Editor's Memo. On the Editor's Memo, I want to analyze the petitions. First of all, without going into details of the petitions of who will win and who will not, we don't want to violate the court rules that once the petitions are within the court premises, we don't want to talk about the judgment. We want to talk about the analysis, how some of them matter. The prayers that the Azimio Party has asked for are great prayers. These are prayers that can help us to understand whether we have a case or we don't have a case. They are most of the things that we have done here before. And therefore, the Editor's Memo would like to take one step forward and say, this is a very good job done by the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya team of His Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. And everything that follows with whatever is taking place. So thank you very much. It takes time. And Miriam, first of all, kick us start on the question of page. There's a page there of the Standard newspaper. Or is it Standard or Nation, which has laid down the grounds, the 21 grounds, prayers or grounds. But let's just kickstart us on a discussion. You people have had a discussion already. I just want to do a takeaway at the end, but let's look at areas that you needed me to put an input. First of all, amicus curiae. I want to announce that out of the huge number of boxes that I saw, I have withdrawn my amicus curiae and submitted my documents and my analysis to the Orengo group. And therefore, there is no need of me being on amicus. I will not, because I will not stand chances. They will perhaps allow the Law Society of Kenya and one observer group. But if you go in, you might not be able to have any of these situations. So thank you very much. That takes us, Miriam. Let's look at what do you think about all that in those 21 applications? What didn't you expect?
I think a lot of the issues that have been raised there are some of the things that we've been looking at since these elections, others before we even went to the elections. And perhaps what stood out for me this morning, and as we were having this conversation, as we earlier had it when we were looking at the headlines of the newspapers this morning, is the prayer by Azimio asking that in the alternative, that the court decides that the country should have another election, that IEBC, as presently constituted, is incapable of presiding over a credible presidential election. So they're saying they should not be the ones, conducting another election. That means should there be a rerun, the current commission would not oversee it. So that, I guess, leaves a lot of questions in the minds of Kenyans. So if that is the case and the court maybe grants this prayer, so what will happen? We will start another process of getting new commissioners, and then how long is that going to take? And when are we supposed to have this new election?
Yes, thank you very much. And any other area, Miriam, then I combine them?
No, that is what stood out for me.
The question of, it clips my mind this morning. I'm not very steady. What, just mention one word that I will be able to.
In part of the petition, Azimio has several prayers that they are seeking from the court, and one of them is for the elections to be nullified, or after the recount, Raila Odinga be declared the winner. If not, and the court decides that we go for another election, that IEBC, as it is presently constituted, is incapable of presiding over a credible presidential election. And so that means that they want the court, should the court announce for a rerun, that the current commission should not oversee these elections. And we do understand the process of getting new commissioners. So should the court actually grant this prayer, which I don't know, but should the court grant this prayer, then when are we going to have these new elections, and what will be the process of getting new commissioners, and how long will they need for them to be acquainted with the happenings and the IEBC, and is it something that the court can even consider?
First of all, let me tell you frankly that you are right. It is a worrying scenario, but the court can recommend certain punitive measures. We might be heading to a constitutional crisis, Medium, a very heavy constitutional crisis, that the same IEBC, which is divided, and four commissioners have a petition. They have actually, four commissioners have become friends of, they have enjoined, not friends, not even friends of the court, but they have enjoyed interested parties in the Raila application, saying that the application, what Raila is saying is correct. Therefore, if that is the case, then we come to what we call a crisis, a very terrible constitutional crisis.
And just to add to that, Doc, all the commissioners will appear individually to give their testimony on what transpired. So there is a possibility of conflicting positions in the court. So each one of them, and this is what makes this petition different from what we've had previously. So every one of them will have to appear, even Chebukati himself, and give account to what happened. So adding to the absurdity that this possesses.
So the Supreme Court has to come out. If you look, Miriam, at my public prosecutor's application, which I put out, it leads to that. You know, the Supreme Court is political. It's partly political and partly judicial. So they are weighing the opposite options. What do we do? The Supreme Court wouldn't like to plunge the country into chaos. It would like to balance what we want to do. So for me, I think the basic thing, the first thing, the three words, and I've said it, I'll continue to say it, three good words, Miriam: recount, illegal tallying, and a rerun. I don't see any fourth word. There is no upholding of this election, given that almost every mathematical error, everything is an error. Even just one county only, if you take one county and try to scrutinize the numbers, Miriam, you get an error. They don't add up. So how they arrived to such numbers is what is the scrutiny of the court. Mm-hmm. But I tell you, we are in 60 days to come. If they order for a rerun, I don't think the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya will accept the same commissioners or the same chairman to preside over the elections. So by then the parliament would have been swung into action. And remember now, that means President Uhuru Kenyatta has to address the parliament and they elect the speaker, because they have to elect the speaker. And then now the speaker and the two sides can now hammer out. Either they suspend on the interest, the public interest and the national interest. They suspend the current IEBC, sack them all, and take some serious measures. That's what I think is going to happen. I think let's bring in Kiptanui. But that is what the crisis is, yes.
Yes, and before Kiptanui comes in, we know that yesterday 19 petitions were filed. So let me just sample just a few of these petitions, Kiptanui, before you come in.
Good morning.
Okay. So one was Kigame, who was supposed to be a presidential candidate, but for some reason, his name was not, and he was cleared by the court. And we had that conversation here casually, Kiptanui, and we said, why is his name not included in the ballot?
Very
because the court had cleared him. So now, other than in Africa, Advocacy Africa and Peter Karia, and presidential aspirant Ruben Kigame, and another one, Mr. John Joroge Kamau, the common thread in all the four petitions is that the elections were not free and fair as envisioned in the Constitution. The petitioners want the Supreme Court to declare the suppression of voters, and I think we talked about the suppression of voters here in Mombasa and Kakamega counties tainted the presidential election. They also want a finding that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission had no constitutional mandate to postpone elections in Mombasa and Kakamega. Actually, the Constitution, according to the Electoral Act, actually IBC can do that. IBC can do that. Except for the presidential election that is cast on stone, but the rest of the other elective positions, IBC, depending on the matters at hand, can decide to postpone. But maybe what petitioners are saying, there was no reason enough, but we know there was a mix-up of the ballot papers. The outcome of the presidential poll, the petitioners say in their separate cases, is not reflection of the wishes of all voters. And so I'm looking for the Kigame part. Mr. Kigame, who was kicked out of the presidential race for what IEBC said was failure to meet the set conditions, or want the Supreme Court to reject the presidential elections and order a fresh poll. My dreams, as well as those of others, got into jeopardy as a result of the unreasonableness of the discriminatory actions by the IEBC to lock me out of the polls. He is asking the court to declare the clearance of four presidential candidates, Mr. Odinga, Dr. Ruto, Professor George Wajakoya, and David Maore, as null and void. So that is the prayer from Mr. Kigame. All right, we do also have another petition by Chama cha Kazi, party leader Moses Kuria and Beara South MP Geoffrey Kingangi, and they have filed a petition at the Supreme Court seeking dismissal of Mr. Raila Odinga's suit challenging Deputy President William Ruto's win. The two want the Apex Court to dismiss the case filed by Mr. Odinga, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition presidential candidate, based on claims of violence and election offences that occurred at Bomas of Kenya ahead of declaration of Dr. Ruto as presidential-elect. The pair argues that Mr. Odinga and his Azimio coalition caused the violence and thus should not be granted the orders they are seeking. They claim Mr. Odinga's chief agent and National Tallying Center, Mr. Saitabao Ole Sanchori, and another agent, Narok Senator-elect Ladema Olekina, gained access to the podium, threatened and physically assaulted Electoral Commission chairperson. Now, the actions of Mr. Odinga and Azimio, who was not present at the Bomas of Kenya, but Moses Kuria is saying the actions of Mr. Odinga and Azimio through their agents amounted to breach of national security, as the same caused fear and panic not only among us the petitioners and all the persons present at Bomas, but also amongst Kenyans across the globe who are keenly following the process on television, says Kuria in his affidavit. So let's start with Kigame's petition, and then we go to this one by Moses Kuria Kiptanui.
Thank you, Miriam. And Miriam, last time we actually discussed about the presidential candidate Paul Kagame, and I remember Dr. David explaining so much that maybe even if we could not have this dispute, it will be the presidential candidate will go to court one time. And Miriam, this is an interesting case this round, Miriam, because on recent Supreme Court cases, which was held in 2013 and 2017, it could not even attract a lot of petitioners. And I am so surprised this round, Miriam, it is attracting a lot of. And Miriam, Paul Kagame was cleared by a court, and he has a right. Up to now, IBC have not told us why his name was not even included in the ballot papers. Miriam, is that not violation of the Constitution? It is violation, and it is also a right. It is right to be included on those ballot papers. So it is interesting. I'm waiting to see, Miriam. I'm not also a lawyer, but I'm waiting to see what will be happening at the subsequent days before this judgment will be delivered. And Miriam, IBC deliberately, and I said one time, it deliberately messed up this election for one purpose, Miriam. If it is actually that the brokers and cartels entered this whole system of procuring of the ballot papers, or even printing and all these things, Miriam, which might have been even for 2017. You see, the same IBC which we inherited from after Bangoli 2017 election, Miriam, which almost blinded this country to chaos. After handshake, Miriam, we could have even rectified these things. But as I said yesterday on yesterday's show, Miriam, we did not rectify this because we enjoy power. So let us be sincere for today, Miriam. When we are enjoying power and singing Ururuta and singing this Ururuta, we are going to repeat it. We are going to give Uhuru Kenyatta. We are going to give Uhuru Kenyatta another chance, Miriam. Immediately we took over power. We didn't even rectify it, and we were supposed to rectify this. It is my prayer also, Miriam, this morning in this Nakuru city that after the Supreme Court let us plunge this country to constitution. David has put, Miriam, this country is staring on a constitutional crisis because the same we cannot go to the same elections, even the elections of Kakamega and these other parts of the country, Miriam. How can we go with the same IDC which has bungled these elections? If at the end of the day IDC will be found, Miriam, that they bungled these elections as it is being alleged, as it is being filed by this petition, let us not go for another election because, Miriam, Kenyans, I'm one of them, and you and others, we maintain peace. Everybody we heed the call, the national call of maintaining peace. We went to all over this country preaching people, telling people, let us maintain peace. Now that this Wananchi, Miriam, who are voters have maintained peace, how can we entrust one institution of 7 commissioners or 8 commissioners, Miriam, to actually mess up this country, this great country? It is my prayer that, Miriam, these elections of 2022 will teach us a lesson, and we are going to rectify this as we move on, Miriam, so that we cannot be in a position to have so many people petitioning these elections in future. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Doc. And something else, yes, Reuben Kagame. We said Paul. That is, Paul Kagame is the president for Rwanda, but it's Reuben Kagame, I believe. The court cleared him. Did we not have that conversation here? But Chebukati, IBC decided, no, we will not include him anyways.
Most important and interesting thing about this whole thing is the seriousness of what is taking place. The most important thing here is, let me tell you, my sister, we told you that Reuben will go up to the last mile. You know, he will gain sympathy. He's a blind man. And you have denied the blind man the only right that he has on earth left, for him to represent after collecting 48,000 signatures, as he is. And then you just knock him out. He has not given up. You have seen where he has gone. He's there. And he's going to present one of the most interesting petitions is the petition of Reuben and Omutata. Omutata's position, if you look at what it is, Miriam, it looks like Omutata has even the first-class evidence. You know, Omutata has caught these guys of Azimio with their pants in, so not Azimio, of Tanga Kenya Kwanza, with their pants halfway in the knees. They can't move up, they can't move down. Because his application is strategic. It talks of mathematical errors. Very many things don't add up. So it is more or less like Chivutis 2007, where you don't even know which mathematics, which formula you can use to reach a destination. So Miriam, this is a done deal. I don't think the judges can sit and wait and say, this man got duly declared, he got a certificate. For me, I would now tell Azimio people, let's start preparing ourselves.
Edo, can I just go through just in very few sentences?
Go on,
Omutata's petition. Mr. Omutata alleges that Mr. Chebukati did not factor in voters who voted manually, who total at least 140,028. According to Omutata, when the 113,614 spoiled ballots is added to 14,213,000 and 27 valid votes, being the correct sum of the alleged results of each of the 4 presidential candidates, you get a turnout of 14, and I think this is what I was talking about here yesterday, of 14,326,641. The untallied votes are about 140 and 28. Untallied votes are those that were not taken into account when the returning officer for the presidential election, the IEBC chairman, tabulated and announced the national results of the presidential election. So he's saying that the 140,028 untallied votes plus the undeclared voters who voted manually is not an insignificant figure in circumstances where the candidate who allegedly got 50% plus 1 vote crosses constitutional threshold by only 0.49% of declared votes. That is an equivalent of 69,000 votes. Therefore, it was wrong for the chairman to have rounded off the percentage of each party to 2 decimal points. Just the basic figures that Chebukati presented to us, and we've been talking about this mathematics, but he's saying, where are the voters that were identified manually? Why are they not factored in? Where is 140,000 voters?
They were the ones cooked in Kichoku, the whole mountain. There was cooking. They cooked. So if they cooked and removed 10, there is another phenomenon, Miriam, which you have to how to understand these people, how they increased. You see, when they see they decrease they spoil your ballots. Okay? While they spoil your ballots, they increase the ballots of the good ballots of the other person. The ballots that they say are spoiled, You can't see them anywhere. They have, excuse me, Miriam, can you ask a normal person in Kenya that Wajikoya and the other Agano man, they got less than 100,000 votes? Two of them. And then the spoiled ones, 100,000. Surely in the entire Kenya, out of 14 million, how educated, how voter education had worked miracles in Kenya that we can only get 100,000 out of the 14 million votes. Surely, Miriam? No. Something doesn't add up, and believe me or not, Miriam, it is going to come to roast. It is coming to roost, not roast, roost. The chicken is coming home to roost. So.
And what about this petition, Doc, by Courier, who's saying that
that in law is called cross petition. Is a cross petition. This is a man on the other side and now launching an attack. This is a tactic just for public sympathy.
He wants Raila to be held responsible for what?
No, the Supreme Court, Miriam, the Supreme Court does not entertain criminal activity. Excuse me. It is the lower courts that handle. If Mr. He can go to police, and the police will take the person to magistrate's court. So that is the first petition to be struck off will be Courier's. In fact, the judges could recommend that he goes to Dubai to get healed with his legs first, then come back. Because the legs were bound by a blanket, an electric blanket. Surely, this guy is mad. You cannot go to the Supreme Court to accuse someone has beaten someone in Bomas. It is not the Supreme Court. How will them? Okay, if the person needs bail, how will the person get? What will the judges there say? Theirs is to have a presidential petition, and you cannot say there was any major violence in the whole country is when the Supreme Court now can look at. But an incident of people pulling shots in Bomas is not for the Supreme Court. That one is going to be sent out. The first strike is that one. It will be struck out. It doesn't have any meaning at all. Raila Odinga was not there. The man who must have, if there was police, they should have charged the agent, got a CRB number, and then the people who were beaten, as he claims, should have gone to the police themselves. But we don't have any police CBR criminal number. It is not there. So that is a non-starter. That one of Korea is a non-starter, is something coming from a man who is sick and is supposed to be in the hospital. Thank you.
And earlier on, Doc, during the earlier show, of course, yesterday we saw the bad blood play out between Chebukati and Cherera, and after being invited by Chebukati to explain to the candidates what informed the first postponement, Ms. Cherera put aside the official script. There's a script to lament the secretive nature of IEBC operations, insisting the commissioners were not reading from the same script. Ms. Cherera charged some commissioners were intentionally kept in the dark regarding the printing of the ballot papers. We talked amongst ourselves as commissioners and did not want and did what we call PR, that is public relations exercise, to save face because we did not want the commission to be divided. We tried to put pieces together despite the fact that as a commission we did not even know the first ballot papers were arriving. We were only made aware on the night before the arrival. She said that yesterday. She further detailed how, as part of a team appointed by IEBC to oversee the printing of presiding ballot papers, they were frustrated only arriving in the tail end of the printing process. And I think this is a problem because there was a story you were looking at earlier today. I can't remember where the page is, where they were trying to explain the reason why there was a mix-up, I think, on this on the ballot papers.
And Mombasa.
Yes, and apparently, Cherera said by the time they were making it to the printing place, these papers had already been printed and sealed. So we wondered, was it not prudent on their side to unseal, take a good look, and then have them sealed back to just make sure that we have the right information? But they're saying by the time they got there, the papers had already been sealed, printed and sealed. So that's a poor oversight on IEBC's position.
First of all, Miriam, you remember I was seated near you there when I said there was no printing press in Greece. I was one of the few people who shouted on social media and said, there's no printing press. The papers were being brought from Romania, Bucharest. I've given that evidence across to the teams, and they will use it with pictures where the airplane, that the manifest, everything. And I kept on asking Kenyans, can you ask Wafula Chebukati for the cargo manifest? Miriam, do you remember that? Where is the cargo manifest? Wafula Chebukati could not produce the cargo manifest because some of these papers came through Entebbe Airport. What were they doing in Entebbe, for example? The plane doesn't go to Entebbe, then come back to Nairobi, passing Nairobi, and it doesn't deliver if it is coming from Athens, the route is not Miriam, the route is not Khartoum, Egypt. The route is the Red Sea, Indian Ocean. Then it can come, it has to pass Nairobi before going to another place. So how did the plane, which was bringing the cargo, went to some African country, then came back? So if you ask Wafula for the cargo manifest, he can't give you. Up to today, they don't have a cargo manifest. Up to now, how those goods arrived in this country. Because if you get a cargo manifest, then it will tell you the number of ballots that came in the country. Then if you find any other ballots, because on the cargo manifest, they have written the serial numbers. So why Wafula Chebukati not giving the cargo manifest is they will find out the other papers that don't belong to the same election, but they have been printed elsewhere. That's why they didn't give the cargo manifest. Simple. Simple.
Yes, so Ms. Cherera said the commission was not to blame since by the time they were getting to Greece, some of the ballot papers had already been printed, sealed, hence they could not verify the same at the time. They only had one job when they went to Greece. They were supposed to verify the ballot papers, but they're saying they arrived there and they were sealed. So they couldn't do that at the same time. And Mr. Chebukati defended the commission, saying they submitted the ballot proofs correctly, and it was the mistake of the printer, which they only came to realize when they unsealed. And that is why it was important for the commissioners who had gone to Greece to verify. So you can't, I don't know, it's some deep level of incompetence here, Doc, being exhibited by the commission, which is unacceptable because now look at where we are as a country.
We are in where we are not even yet out of the woods. We are not yet out of the woods. So it is not very good for people to wear suits and come and smile in front of us. It's not, Miriam, how many times did I say, if I were Kenyan, I would go and tie myself at the Kilimani law courts and tell the world, the judge, please don't allow Wafula Chebukati to handle your vote. How many times? I've said it. So for me, you know, that's why I'm not even appearing on these things. I'm leaving you all the burden, ma'am, because I said them. I told my people that this thing is going to be bad. So here we are. We are now here. We are in catch 22. We might create a constitutional crisis because if in the East or West, Raila Odinga and others will not accept for Chebukati to handle their vote. Therefore, it will precipitate. And Chebukati has got only 4 months left. Why doesn't he just quit now and leave the vice chair to take over there? The running of the IEBC. You notice that Chebukati is supposed to leave in January. So he has got 4 months to go. Why is he wasting our time and killing us? He can resign even right now and go home. He can have his payment. I don't own the money that he has got.
We apologize.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, Captain, sorry that your network is not very good. And also, Doc, this petition also with Githongo, I remember, that is also one of the other petitions. And an alleged confession by a man said to be a whistleblower will form part of the evidence that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition will use to discredit the August 9th presidential election. The whistleblower, who is introduced to the case by former anti-graft Caesar John Githongo, is in an affidavit before the Supreme Court alleges that he was part of a team of 56 people dubbed the team, and who had been recruited to allegedly manipulate the results. A team of 10 computer specialists allegedly headed this team, according to court documents. Githongo was to play the whistleblower's confessions in private in order to put the commission on the spot about whether Forms 34A were tamper-proof and could not be manipulated in any way. Githongo, the chief executive officer of Inuka Kenya Nisisi, states in his affidavit that his team was part of several observer groups that sent representatives from all over the country. He claims that on August 18, 2022, a colleague introduced him to a young man at the Batian Hotel Suites in Aguing's Kodhek Road. According to him, the man stated that he wished to discuss a matter of national importance. The young man was visibly tense and terrified, Githongo says, adding that he proceeded to ask the named young man to his identity, business, residence, and the information he was about to spill. The former Mwai Kibaki government claims that the information he was given left him speechless. He revealed shocking details of how he and others were involved in the fraudulent scheme to interfere with and compromise the IEBC electoral data transmission system to manipulate the presidential election. And the task is said to have been to receive Forms 34As and that were sent to their server on platform. The whistleblower claimed that the team used the platform to edit the forms before uploading them to the IEBC portal. While the other 46 people were accessing, entering, and manipulating the entries, he was one of the supervisors. The task was to collect Form 34As from KIEM's kids and send them to their server platform, which he called Uchaguzi Tallying, and used the alias Uchaguzi 2022. And after receiving the data, they would edit the Form 34As in accordance with instructions given and then upload the edited Form 34As to the IEBC portal. So that is what we are being fed with, allegedly. Until I think media had to give up on the tallies at some point.
Yeah, Miriam, between me and you, we have a very serious problem. And as we end this show, we would like to say, time and time again, we have been very consistent. And I thank you for the consistency. And you have made very good strides. We have been saying the same thing, that this thing is going to come to boomerang. let's wait for the reply of Kenya Kwanza, whether they will also bring to the public prosecution court anything tangible that can convince any person in Kenya that the nullification will not take place. Thank you.
All right, thank you for watching.
Yeah.